Why does AI hallucinate? Perhaps the first step in understanding AI hallucinations is to understand that artificial intelligence might be a little bit of a misnomer. AI is used in many different applications, but this video is specifically going to look at AI as relates to LLMs or large language models. Also, please note that this video will mainly focus on seems like it could be true rather than AI responses that are completely nonsensical or obviously wrong. While it may seem like an LLM is an entity capable of intelligence, conversation, and feeling, at its core, AI isn't that at all. In heavily simplified terms, an LLM is sort of like the world's most advanced predictive text machine. While some may race to disagree with that statement, ChatGPT itself generated a response that it was a simplified but fair assessment of what an LLM basically does, while also noting that LLMs capture complex patterns and relationships beyond basic autocomplete. First, let's look at how predicted generation works. To illustrate, let's go to what is the consistently best-selling and highest-grossing fiction genre in the book industry, a romance novel. Any reader of a romance novel already knows the ending. In fact, she probably selected the novel because she knows that she can escape into a book with a guaranteed happy ending. Perhaps the most obvious of all predictive stories is that of a sappy Christmas movie, especially from one particular channel. While not every movie has the exact same plot, anyone who has watched one has almost watched every other one. In fact, there's a joke that someone once fell asleep watching one of these movies, woke up and kept watching it, and then after half an hour realized that the movie they watched after waking up was actually a different movie from the one they were watching when they dozed off. In fact, the trope is so well known that when I asked an AI video generator to create videos to illustrate these tropes, it did a pretty good job. Sure, the logic in some scenes is lacking, but that's not a big deal when logic doesn't matter much in those movies anyway. Frankly, these AI-generated clips might be more entertaining than the originals. While plot points might vary, it's almost a given in these movies that the heroine will probably trip and fall into the hero's arms, especially beware of any instance where the heroine is on a ladder. It's pretty much a given she will fall into the hero's arms. The hero and heroine will get into a flirt fight, whether that means they are tossing snow, flour, or some other random stuff at each other. There will be something in need of saving, whether that's a festival or folksy business. No worries on getting bored while they work to save whatever it is, as a fast montage overlaid with a Christmas tune will solve all the problems lickety-split. The hero and heroine will have an interrupted kiss. Spending time at one's job will not interrupt copious amount of time spent wandering town. No grumpy people, except possibly one Scrooge's character, are allowed to exist in this idyllic small town. Everyone will smile and be happy throughout every conversation, no matter how dark the topic. Also, their teeth will glow. The hero and heroine will overhear something that seems awful from the other romantic lead, but stop listening before it is explained. No worries, the last act will allow the two to finally have a basic conversation that would have negated the whole movie. A long-term relationship with someone with whom one shares similar values, life goals, and dreams will be discarded in favor of a 3-day relationship with someone who shares none of those things. The final scene will probably take place at a Christmas tree lighting, for a snowstorm, or other quintessentially Christmassy scene. If you found yourself rolling your eyes and nodding along as the tropes were examined, it's because you've watched some sappy Christmas movies. This makes it easy for you to predict what will happen because every single one is similar to the rest. In fact, if one watches a Christmas movie where the love interest part ways, he or she is probably annoyed and possibly angry that their expectations were subverted. The point of watching a movie like that is to feel good and know that there is a guaranteed happy ending coming in an hour and a half. So what does this tell us about AI hallucinations? If a person can predict what will happen in a Christmas movie plot after seeing a few, imagine how well someone could predict it if they had seen thousands. AI has been fed with a staggering amount of data. I turned to an LLM to ask what it does with all the data. Here's what it said. Step 1. Before a person ever talks to it, the LLM is trained. During training, the model is given a massive data set of text, books, articles, websites, code, etc. While LLMs can memorize rare or unique strings verbatim, it doesn't memorize all data word for word. Instead, it learns statistical patterns about how words, phrases, and concepts tend to appear together. It compresses its knowledge into billions of parameters, weights, and a neural network. Example: instead of remembering every sentence about cats, it learns that cats often appear with purr, whiskers, fur, pets, etc. Step number 2. Once training is completed, the user inputs data or prompts it. Person types something in their prompt. The model converts the words into tokens, mathematical representations of word subwords. It looks at the sequence and predicts the most likely next token based on the patterns it learned during training. This process repeats over and over until it generates a full response. People might wonder what happens to the input. The input you give it is used only in that session to guide predictions. It doesn't permanently absorb your prompt into its knowledge unless it's specifically set up to do continuous learning, but most public-facing models aren't. Instead, the text just shapes the probability space for the next output. So in plain terms, an LLM doesn't store your data in the sense of keeping a diary of what you tell it. Instead, it translates your input into math, uses patterns it already learned during training, generates the most statistically likely continuation. It's not retrieving from a memory bank, it's generating like a very advanced autocomplete. So back to the original question of why AI hallucinates. AI hallucinates because it is trained to create by putting together statistically probable combinations. It cannot think of whether it is putting together factual combinations. Additionally, hallucinations can also arise from missing data, optimizations for fluency, and lack of grounding in external facts. That's why, apart from some hallucinations that are utter nonsense, many of the hallucinations AI has often seem right. Let's go back to our Christmas movie example. I asked an LLM to create a storyline for a movie titled The Christmas Baby Surprise Gift. This movie doesn't exist, which the LLM pointed out. When I asked what it would probably be about, ChatGPT explained that Christmas movie titles are usually very on the nose, so a pretty solid guess could be made. I asked it to guess, and it came up with this blurb. When a devoted single mom returns to her hometown for the holidays, she's focused on giving her baby a magical first Christmas. But when she reconnects with a childhood friend, she discovers that the greatest surprise gift of all may be love. While not an actual movie, this storyline actually sounds pretty plausible. ChatGPT explained how it reached that answer. Here's a breakdown of how it generated those Hallmark-style blurbs step by step from the technical perspective, as stated by the LLM itself. Number 1, prompt understanding. The LLM was given a title, The Christmas Baby Surprise Gift. The tone was specified, Hallmark-style short blurb. The LLM recognized this as a pattern text generation task, creating a short narrative synopsis that fits an established formula. Number 2, pattern recognition, training knowledge. The LLM relied on patterns learned during pre-training from movie blurbs, Hallmark guides and synopses, romance holiday storytelling conventions. From prior exposure, the LLM knew Hallmark blurbs often include a protagonist, single parent, professional, etc., a returning to hometown or holiday scenario, a love interest or reconnection, words emphasizing magic, surprise, or warmth, a hint at conflict and resolution without revealing the ending. Number 3, semantic decomposition. The LLM broke down the title and concept. Christmas sets holiday context, snow, warmth, magic. Baby implies parenthood, innocence, bonding, potential stakes. Surprise gift suggests a plot twist or emotional payoff, typically romance or family related. This formed a semantic map of concepts to include. Number 4, token prediction. Using its LLM architecture, the LLM generated the text token by token, word subwords, choosing the next token based on probability of being coherent and consistent with the context, likelihood of matching Hallmark style tone, sentimental uplifting, avoiding repetition or irrelevant content. Each sentence was built iteratively, optimizing for readability, brevity, and adherence to Hallmark conventions. Number 5, tone adjustment. When asked, the LLM adjusted tone. While I only included a basic one, the LLM provided other versions after prompting. For a sentimental version, the LLM emphasized emotional stakes and heartwarming phrasing, such as rediscovers the magic of Christmas, season's greatest gift may be a second chance at love. For a playful version, the LLM added light, concrete imagery and minor humorous mishaps, such as snowball fights, cookie baking mishaps, charm under the tree. These choices come from learned stylistic patterns in the training data. Number 6, output refinement. The LLM ensured it was a short length of 1 or 2 sentences, a smooth flow with natural punctuation, inclusion of the protagonist plus conflict plus holiday plus potential romance formula. The LLM didn't know a real synopsis. It used learned patterns of Hallmark blurbs, semantic cues from the title, probabilistic token predictions to generate coherent, genre-consistent text. In short, user input gives the title and style request. Semantic decomposition breaks it into plot elements, protagonist, conflict, holiday setting. Pattern recognition pulls in training patterns for Hallmark blurbs. Token prediction generates each word sequentially, keeping context in mind. Output assembly adjusts tone, flow, and sentence structure to produce a natural-sounding blurb. Since this type of movie is so well known, it is pretty easy to get a semi-decent rendering of what it might look like in a trailer. As this is how an AI is trained, it becomes easier to understand why it hallucinates. It is merely doing what it is trained to do. Take data, predict probable words, and generate responses based on that. So if it is asked to recommend books, it may hallucinate books that don't exist but aren't outside the realm of possibility to exist. When prompted to tell me the potential storyline of a previously undiscovered Agatha Christie novel, the LLM returned this response. Title: The Ashworth Manuscript. Premise: a reclusive novelist dies unexpectedly in her country estate, leaving behind an unfinished manuscript that seems to mirror the circumstances of her own death. The guests at her final weekend gathering, family members, a trusted secretary, a publisher, and a mysterious new acquaintance, realize that the missing final chapter may hold the key to her murderer's identity. The LLM explained what elements Christie loved that would appear, such as closed setting, a manor house during a storm that cuts off outside contact, suspect pool, a mix of relative servants and outsiders with hidden motives, red herrings, odd behavior tied to personal secrets but not the crime, meta element, the manuscript acting as a puzzle within a puzzle, detective, either Hercule Poirot, an older reflective version, or Miss Marple piecing together motives through human nature. The LLM also included a suggested twist ending in Christie's style. The person who seemed most helpful in deciphering the manuscript is revealed to have used it as a blueprint for the crime, manipulating the narrative so others would take the blame. Note that the LLM did not return a storyline about a fantastical trip to space or a historical drama, or even a dark police procedural mystery. Instead, the LLM drew on statistical patterns in its training data to determine that Agatha Christie was known for mysteries, and that those mysteries are more cozy than gritty in nature. In fact, anyone who's a Christie fan can see elements from her other mysteries pulled into this one. To be honest, the suggested storyline isn't particularly creative, but it also isn't so outlandish that if it was included in a list of suggested Christie titles, someone wouldn't believe it was real. While it may be an oversimplification, it is easier to understand why AI hallucinates once one realizes how it works. And if you're looking for someone to work on a custom application, or if you need other technology services, Swan Software Solutions can help. Visit swansoftwaresolutions.com to schedule a free assessment.